If you don't sit in your lucky seat, your team could lose. So don't leave your lucky seat. But do pick up your phone or computer and order B-Dubs to go. Or if you've got a big group, call in for the party menu. That way you can order wings, pick them up, and get back to your lucky seat. And if you do lose while sitting in your lucky seat, you can still feel lucky eating your feelings. Spicy feelings. Keep your superstitions. We do it for you. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Prices and participation vary. See participating locations for details. Void where prohibited.
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. But this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 356 of the New York Knicks podcast. 356 is also the amount of times my mood changed this week while following the Knicks.
Yes. We are also recording this show in Donald Trump land, where we all live now. And I have a question for you, Jay.
Okay.
I know you're liberal, and you were not a big fan of Donald Trump being elected. What would you rather? Would you rather Donald Trump have lost the election and the Knicks suck this year, or Donald Trump wins the election and the New York Knicks go to the finals?
Go Trump.
So just to them getting the finals is good enough to say screw our country.
Yep.
Well, because you said that, we understand that you care. Well, how do you feel about here's my final offer?
Okay.
Trump wins the election, and the Knicks still suck.
Are you talking about reality?
Yes, let's go talk about reality.
Okay.
Knicks played 3 games this week. They played the New Brooklyn Nets, New Jersey Nets, whatever the hell you want to call them. Then they played the Boston Celtics and the Raptors. I actually went to the net game, which was the one game you wanted to go to.
Can we talk 95% of this episode about that game?
Yeah, big news of the week that came up before the Nets game was the Knicks said, "Hey, we should have someone in charge of defense. That would be helpful. Who's the guy that was in charge of the triangle? Give him the defensive role. He did such a good job of the triangle. Rambis, you are now in charge of defense also, or instead."
What did they do? Say they had a meeting, and there was 4 people in the room, and they said, "We need somebody in charge of defense. We have to make this decision now, and we can only pick from people in this room."
So you know what's interesting is that I find Hornacek or Coach Horney when they interview him, he has really interesting reactions to things. So they asked him. I heard him on a radio show. He was talking about the triangle, and he said, "How do you feel about running the triangle? Is that something you're a big fan of?" And he said, "Well, every team needs a system. You got to run a system. It's a fine system," which is you couldn't have a less enthusiastic support for that. So then they made Rambis the defensive coordinator, if you will, and they asked Hornacek about it, and he said, "Well, he's as good as anyone. He'll be fine. We just needed someone to do it, and Rambis is as good as anyone." It was again completely the exact opposite of Glare. Instead of saying, "Hey, Rambis, I think will do a great job," he can't even muster up any well, it's got to be someone, and Rambis is tall, so people will give it to him.
Well, I mean, since then they've let up about 112 points a game, so
They sucked before Rambis took over, and they suck with Rambis taking over. I don't know if it's really Rambis' fault.
No, there's been no change. They're letting up about 112 points a game.
Well, before the Nets game, the Knicks practiced defense and against the pick and roll for 2 hours. So I assume practicing for 2 hours versus say practicing in the preseason and they practiced pick and roll for 2 hours. That should be enough for the whole season.
I apologize. They're only letting up 110 points a game.
I have a question. I just assumed every team had a guy that was in charge of defense before the season started. Right. That was one of those things that a coach would. I didn't know who was in charge of the defense in the Knicks. I just assumed they had appointed someone because how in God's name would you have not have done that?
Yeah, usually don't wait until game 6.
I get if you're the coach and you're the defensive coach. Like if you're Tibbs, like you're probably the defensive guy, but he probably even has an assistant who's like the main guy.
Every
the main
coach has
for
3
defense.
assistants.
Yeah, and I assume Hornacek would have a coach that was like the offense focused coach. So like you're handling bigger picture stuff. I'm reviewing film and coming up with ideas to help us with the offense. Do they have an offensive coach?
They probably all just picked offense and didn't tell each other what their roles were. They're like, I assumed you were on defense. Well, I thought you were on defense. Well, somebody's got to do defense.
And I don't know if I don't want to go like conspiracy on this. I don't know if Phil Jackson like appointed Rambis and just told Hornacek, or like Hornacek was said, "Hey, I'm thinking about putting someone in charge of defense," and Phil said, "Great, Rambis will love the job," or maybe he just came up with it on his own. But either way, and I don't care that it's. Do you care that much that it's Rambis?
But I don't think Rambis is very good at this whole coaching thing.
I think the bigger issue is the team doesn't seem to practice. So there were issues with the fact that the Knicks were not practicing a lot with the pick and roll, and it's going to take a while for the team to really gel with the pick and roll they weren't practicing. But that being said, what do you think the biggest problem is so far with this team?
Defense.
They're
letting up 110 points a game. I would like to say that there's too much ISO, or that they're not doing enough pick and roll, or maybe the rotations are a little off, but it's defense. They're letting up 110 points a game.
Well, I was going to say, defense is clearly it, but I was going to say the biggest problem is their bench is just horrid. I know we I feel like Kuz and like Hernan Gomez have some potential, but the bench is just like, it's not a very good bench. Would you say the bench, like as far as issues, like is the bench even worse than the defense?
Well, the bench is part of the defensive problems.
If you're going to put it like you had a Venn diagram, how would it work here? Do you think anyone knows what a Venn diagram is out there?
BCom thinks Lance Thomas is in charge of defense.
I just think like the bigger issue, like the starting five. Well, then again, I watched them and I don't know if they can, but the starting five can be competitive. Is that once you start mixing and matching the bench, it gets horrid.
Well, that's the problem. If you think about the bench, who on the bench is actually good at defense?
Supposedly Justin Holiday and supposedly Lance Thomas, and supposedly the list ends from there.
Exactly. That's a problem. So
and even on
in the starting lineup, Rose and Carmelo aren't very good on defense. So you have a total of 5 guys on the entire team that are good at defense, and they don't play all at the same time.
Yeah, I don't even know. Also, there was a report out. I think that the media is also just trolling Knicks fans because this can't even be true. But they said after the Knicks beat the Bulls, I guess last week, Phil Jackson reportedly was unhappy about the Knicks' limited use of triangle, and he said this after they won a game. I feel like that the media is just trolling Knicks fans.
I think they are.
Yeah, I think they're making this shit up. But as far as the defense, I'm not even sure. Like a lot of guys look lost. Porzingis, who I think is great at blocking shots and has some potential on defense, looks lost at times, especially in like any kind of complicated offense. He looks lost.
He looks lost more now that Rambis is in charge.
Do you really think it's changed that much? Because the Houston game was before Rambis was in charge. Just Rambis being here has made it bad.
BCom gave a very detailed description of a Venn diagram, so you were proven wrong.
There you go. I think we'll just probably I appreciate that. I think we're going to pass over the Venn diagram discussion now. I think they should find Kurt Thomas and give him the job.
So before we get negative, let's talk about the Nets game.
Okay, the Nets game was awesome. The Nets game. So for me, I am a big goddamn liberal. I was upset by the whole Trump being elected. And going to the Knicks Nets game, it was a great way to put my mind somewhere else and kind of just enjoy Knicks basketball if that's possible.
The Euro bench was awesome.
Yes. So even though I meant the bench was bad, that game they looked great. And they even played defense. I don't know. So the game started off, the Knicks were down by a lot early, which is a goddamn theme of this team. Why they got down early always?
Well, when they're not, then they fall apart at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, we'll get to the Raptors game. But why do they do? They seem to a lot of times, like against the Celtics, they immediately started the game. What do you think of the Celtics game? Yeah, they immediately started the game in a big hole. Then Melo was on fire and got them back in the game. But it didn't make sense why they were in the hole in the first place. They were just sloppy. It didn't look like they even cared at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they've had some sluggish starts. And it's not even like they have J.R. Smiths where half the team is hungover.
And I also think when I'm talking about how the Knicks are like are in a hole early and don't seem to care early, I've said that maybe 100 times on past shows. It just seems like a theme of the last couple of years.
There's a lot of running themes that we just keep running into, and I don't know why it's not changing. But
anyway, so the Nets game, Knicks looked terrible early, and one of the people I'm with was a Nets fan who was just like all about being in everyone's face about how awesome the Nets were playing, which totally his prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
Then Knicks are down by a lot. Then Melo, third quarter, playing with the Euro guy, says, I'm not passing the ball to anyone for the rest of the quarter, and just goes on fire and gets the Knicks back in the game. And then the Euro bench takes over. That's basically my take on it. And then the Knicks ended up blowing out the Nets. It was actually really fun to watch.
And after the game, Hornacek said that Hernan Gomez has won the backup center spot over O'Quinn.
Did he say he won by default?
Or no, that was after the Celtics game.
I mean, because you're just commenting on the fact that in the Raptors game, Hernan Gomez came in for 4 minutes and was done for the day.
Yeah, I thought that was weird that the game right after he said he won the spot, he played 4 minutes. I thought that was strange.
I mean, I guess O'Quinn played okay in that game, but it is kind of weird. Here's what I'm torn with this team.
The only thing I'm thinking is that it was a back-to-back, and Hernan Gomez isn't used to the NBA grind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty reasonable thing to think also. Here's where I'm torn about this team.
Okay.
On the one hand, I guess it's win now. And so we should try to win every game, and we should focus on the best way to win every game. But I don't really know where that gets us because the team, like the ceiling on this team, like keeps getting lower and lower every game they play. On the other hand, I kind of want to see them develop the young guys and figure out what the team's going to look like in the future. And so I kind of want to see like whether Hernan Gomez is like, even if you think Kyle O'Quinn might play slightly better than Hernan Gomez, it makes so much more sense to give a lot more minutes to Hernan Gomez because he's your future. And Kyle O'Quinn, we want to get out of here so fast. We would trade him in an instant if we can get anything for him.
O'Quinn's pretty young, though.
I know. It's amazing how fast I've given up on him.
I mean, I've given up too. I'm just saying it's not like
he's the same age as Kuz, basically.
Yeah, it's not like you're saying we're going with a youth movement.
I know. We're just going younger, or just like, I mean, but you know what you have with Kyle O'Quinn. You know he's not part of he's not a guy who's going to contribute to a winning organization. He's sloppy with the ball, or makes a lot of bad mental mistakes that just kill you throughout the game.
Right.
Hernan
Kuz is a lot older than I thought he was.
What? Who?
Kuz. I thought he was 25. He's 27.
Yeah, he's 27. But he has his first year in the NBA, so I feel like you don't know quite what his potential is.
Yeah, and he was playing professional ball overseas.
I do think Hernan Gomez has great hands on offense. Seems like he has a knack for passing also.
Mm-hmm.
Defense, it'll get there. He had some decent moments in the net game.
Yeah. I thought I wasn't gonna have to do this, but I think I'm gonna have to start up a Nick Effect list again this season. If you're a new listener, I keep a list every season of season high or second high games against the Knicks, and the list is usually in the 40s. So every other game,
someone has their season high or second highest point total when playing. So here's a question for you for that list. You've been doing this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Isaiah Thomas, Celtics, has a big game against the Knicks and scores 35 points. And that's his season high for the season high.
Yeah.
If later on in the season he has 40 points in the game, is it season high up to that point or season high just total?
No, I will remove.
Oh, that really makes it so much worse.
Yes.
I mean,
No, because if I did it right away, the first game you'd have 12 guys on the list.
yeah,
So-
that's why I didn't quite understand if you were doing that. I know I never really asked you, but like I thought I was like, well, how does he do it for the first like 15 games? Because like a lot of guys have season highs in the first 15 games.
Well, first of all, I usually don't start the list until about 20, 25 games in, just so you get a fair sample size. And then I'll remove it if people go off. And it still ends up in the 40s. So you can see those lists, the New York Knicks podcast.com, just in the search bar, search for Nick Effect. And I think I did it for four out of the last 5 years.
Which I assume you didn't do it the year they won 17 games.
Yeah.
Well, like, what's the point? You're like every night, God damn it, I hate this team so much.
No, actually I did. I think I don't even remember which year I didn't do it. Maybe the year they won 50-something games.
Really? Well, that was a good year. Yeah, I would have to say. So, what else do you want to say about the Nets game? Is there anything in particular you want to add? I mean, the Knicks, I was very excited. The thing is, the Nets are they're not that good.
No, they're not. We probably had a Nick effect with Hamilton getting 21.
Yeah.
Brook Lopez he looks like he took a leap offensively.
What I didn't understand from a net perspective is why they were doing anything besides. I mean, they were hitting some threes, so I totally understand shooting the threes. But like every other play should have been get the ball to Lopez. The Knicks just weren't stopping him.
Right.
He was. By the way, can Noah guard another center in the league?
I'm starting to wonder.
Do you really want Defensive Player of the Year?
I mean,
he's not bad, but like. Lopez just like looked like he would have just torched him if they kept going to him.
I miss Robin Lopez.
Not that Lopez, and let's not put Lopez on like a pedestal. He looked.
Robin Lopez was our best defender last year.
Yeah, he was. And how much of a difference is Noah? I don't know yet. I don't know. Noah looks good at times.
The problem is he can't seem to play much more than 20 minutes a game.
He played 33 against the Raptors, I think.
Yeah, but he played 21 against the Nets and 22 against the Celtics.
Well, in fairness to the net game, the Euro guys were doing really well, and it was already a blowout. So I knew I understood why he didn't come back in that game.
Yeah, I mean, that was the game. Willie only got 15 minutes, but still.
But he played like it was like later in the game. Either way, so I think the Knicks got to switch Brandon Jennings and Derrick Rose. I think you gotta Rose will look a lot better with the second unit, and they just need his scoring. And Jennings needs to be in the first unit with his passing.
Yeah, those 11 assists were nice.
Yeah, those were pretty nice. You want to move on to the game, to the Celtics game?
Celtics game, all right.
So this game, I'm sure you loved because you love when Melo complains to the referees.
So, yeah, this was the Melo getting ejected in the second quarter game.
So this game also started off with the Knicks being down by a bunch. Melo was on fire for a little while and got the Knicks back into the game, and then decided to get himself ejected. And the ejection was absurd. You agree it was absurd?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
He was complaining and he was annoying the ref, but so many other players in the league do the same thing.
I have to say the refs probably all hate Melo. He complains so much, and every time he doesn't get a foul, he acts like you kicked his dog. He just loses his mind over stuff to the point of it just gets annoying. Just play the goddamn game. You don't get the calls, just move on.
The problem is it's like it feeds into itself. Like, he doesn't get calls, so he bitches at the refs. That makes the refs not like him. And then he gets less calls, and then he bitches more, and it just spirals.
And usually when he's complaining, it usually misses the next play, and the other team gets an easy basket because Melo decided to take a play off so he can voice his complaint.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. He has to really follow around the ref to complain. Whatever. The play itself was a questionable foul call, but it happens. There are lots of questionable foul calls. Just stop complaining. It's just so goddamn annoying. And Derrick Rose apparently afterwards said, I didn't realize, basically something along the lines, I didn't realize how out of control the situation was with Melo and that referee, and next time I would have stepped in.
Mm-hmm.
But and I totally understand that, but anyone that's new to the team and new to Melo wouldn't understand that he could have this bad of a Like, how do you have this bad relationship with the referee? Where the referee is like so sensitive about kicking you out of the game,
Yeah.
and why? And I know Melo left the game, and Melo's really good and all that, but why do the Knicks just like give up after he leaves?
Well, I mean, they kind of hung in there for the third quarter. It was the fourth quarter where they got totally blown out.
Yeah, I mean they stayed in the game. They kept like down by a couple points, and then they stopped scoring in the fourth quarter and stopped playing defense, and that combination led to them getting basically dominated in the fourth quarter.
There's not a ton of scorers on this team, so when Melo's out, really defenses can just pile up on Porzingis and who else do you have?
Derrick Rose, I feel like should be a scorer where he can get to 20, 25 points a game. Like, especially if Melo's not there, why can't he get 20 points for us?
Who?
Derrick Rose.
Um,
Like at times he looks like he can get to the basket and score.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he should be able to get 20 points for, especially when I was like, Melo's out of the game. This is time for Derrick Rose to really take over. I want Porzingis to score also, but like Rose and Porzingis should be handling the bulk of the offense there. And Rose didn't do that much. He shot a bunch of shots and missed a bunch of baskets. But I want more of, and I know Rose isn't like the player he used to be, but I kind of want more from Rose that he could be more of a scorer than he is because he doesn't play defense.
I would rather more of a ball distributor.
Well, I guess I want both. I guess I want that also. I just feel like he should be able to at times take over a game on offense, and he doesn't do that anymore. He in the Celtics game he turned the ball over 7 times, so he actually was a ball distributor just to the other team. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say about the game? I mean,
Nope.
I don't think Jennings was that great either. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too negative. The positives I see are, I still think Rose, he's staying healthy. He has potential to be our point guard of the future, right? He's the same age as Kuz and Kyler Quinn.
No. I guess.
I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, like 5 years of
Why not? Because he had 3 knee surgeries.
Yeah, but he's played like 10 games this year without getting injured. That's a good enough sample for me to think that he'll never get injured again.
That's probably a good enough sample size for Knicks management.
Lance Thomas. So is Lance Thomas injured for the rest of his career?
He's injured like every third game.
What the hell?
I don't know.
He's like, his new name should be nagging injury.
So, if I told you the Knicks played a game, Porzingis scored 21, Melo scored 31, Rose scored 21, Noah had 18 rebounds, you'd say, how much did the Knicks win by, right?
Yes. I caught some of the highlights of this game. I was actually at a wedding that on last night. I looked at the box score after the game. I just couldn't even believe how they. How does that work?
Well, poorly. I don't know how that works.
Just to add one more comment on the Celtics game, let me ask you. Now, the Celtics screwed the Knicks over that game, right? Not the Celtics, the refs.
Mhm.
And I feel like one of the big themes we've had throughout doing this podcast is that the Knicks keep getting screwed by the refs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever remember one game where we were like, wow, Knicks won because the refs really screwed their opponent?
Larry Johnson 4-point play.
Yeah, that was not recent.
No, it was not.
I can't think of it. That was the only thing I could think of also. And I like, especially in recent memory, I can't think of one game where I'm like, wow, the Knicks went to the line 40 times and our opponents barely went to the line, or like.
We had a bunch of people chime in the Facebook group, and a lot of people were saying like Charlie Ward in '94 and like just really long time ago.
If you have to pull something out from a different decade, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can come up with this stuff, but like Knicks just don't get to the free throw line a lot, and they foul way too often. Those are the two big themes in particular that really I feel like are killing them these days.
I don't know if you're aware. Do you know who is leading the league in scoring?
I believe Steve, our resident Toronto fan, could tell us.
Yes. I was surprised to see that it was DeRozan.
I am shocked.
I mean, he's good. It's just it's interesting that a guy who doesn't take any outside shots and isn't a center can still get 30 points a game.
Yeah, I was going to say the most shocking part up to that, also on top of that, was the fact that he shot like 3-point shots the whole year.
Yeah. And of course, one of them's against the Knicks, and he hit it. But
and crazy also, he's shooting. I'm just looking at the stats right now. He's shooting 52% from the field.
Mm-hmm.
So he's being extra efficient and just scoring crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to hand this to Steven that when they re-signed DeRozan for a bunch of money, apparently it was a good signing.
Mm-hmm. Much better than the Beast, who is injured yet again.
Yes, the Beast. And by the way, so there's a player, for those that are newer listeners, Damari Carroll, our fan Steven, who's a big Toronto fan, and called him a beast when he was talking about the fact that they signed him. And then we started making fun of him, calling him the Beast for his stats that weren't that good. And then we were called racist for that because I think we used the word beast in reference to a black player. And anyway, so Trump is president now, and so racism no longer exists.
Right. So it's totally cool for us to call him a beast now. So suck it.
So now we can just do the race. We can do it the fact that it wasn't racist to begin with, or we can just go with a racist reason. It doesn't matter. Trump's president. That's how it works now. We're in a post-racist society where nothing you can say is more racist than things our president will say.
So do you have anything else to say about the whooping the Knicks took yesterday?
So I watched some highlights from this game. I mean, like on offense, like I like the fact they were doing a great job of getting the ball to like Porzingis in like good spots, getting him easy shots.
Mm-hmm.
That looked awesome. Melo played pretty well. The bench looks that. So the bench looked great against the Nets. Did not look that great against the Celtics, and looked like crap against the Raptors. Yeah, the Raptors look pretty good. I mean, the Knicks looked like they should have like been able to win that game.
Yeah, especially since they got a couple injuries, so they're starting guys like Seacom, and it didn't matter.
They were hanging close the whole like first half of the game. The Knicks looked like they played better than the Raptors. Then the third quarter was pretty close, and then like they fall apart because that's what we do. Trust the Knicks process, I guess. I have no idea where this is going. So let me ask you: the Knicks win 20, 25 games this year. Are you going to call it a disaster or a success?
Disaster. You don't get two $20 million players and added to your team and then win 20 games. That's a disaster.
I don't know. If we win 20 games, we get a high draft pick. So, I mean, like if our idea was to trade Melo and start rebuilding. So, if we're tanking, hey, sounds good to me.
Yeah, but if we end up with like a number 8 draft pick trying to win, like it's a disaster because you probably could have got top 2 if you tanked.
There was at some point someone posted on one of the blogs. I just thought it was the greatest comment. They were like, "Are the Knicks tanking? It looks like we're tanking. We must be tanking."
I mean, at some point, either the Knicks are going to have to string together some wins, or they're seriously going to have a conference about potentially tanking.
Hey guys, I'm not saying we're tanking. Kyle O'Quinn, you're playing 40 minutes tonight. Sasha, you're in the starting lineup. The schedule is pretty tough to start the year off. The first 10 games of the year, or I guess the first 9 games, are pretty rough. The schedule will get easier. So the Knicks will look better than this.
In theory, yes.
In theory, they've played some tough teams. I thought this team could win 45 to 50 games. I think probably this team could win 38 to 41, 38 to 42 games.
I mean,
something like that.
This is a good test this week because we have 4 winnable games. You have 2 home games against an injured Dallas team and Detroit. And
yeah, very winnable games.
Then you have an away game against the Wizards. Very, very winnable game.
Yeah.
And then you have Sunday, right before we do the podcast, there will be a home game against the Hawks.
Yeah. I mean, they could go 3-1, say, and we're talking a 6-7 record, which will look pretty good after how they started.
Yeah.
Or they can win all 4 and be 7-6, and we'll be like, wow, this is what we're hoping for. The team just has to turn it on. They have to start a game off with the team being on fire, or just playing. they start a game off where they don't go down right away. Start strong, finish strong, find a way to like work their bench in. There's a lot of potential here. It's just
all right. So that's the halfway mark of the show. So this is my cue to say thank you to Eric, who has been writing recaps for each game.
Thank you, Eric. The recaps have been really good.
Yeah, they have. So you can check those out, the NewYorkKnicksPodcast.com or the Facebook page. And on the website, you can help support the show. We have Knicks Podcast t-shirts. So the NewYorkKnicksPodcast.com, there's a link for store. And
I also just want to mention they're selling out really, really fast. You have to get your order in really soon if you want to get one. He spends most of his week filling orders for Knicks Podcast t-shirts.
And I do have to say, when they sell out, they will not be replenished. So get them while you can.
You don't want to be looking a couple years from now on eBay being like, Sam, I can only get a Knicks Podcast t-shirt for $8,000.
Yeah, exactly.
They might sell out really, really big, especially when a former presidential candidate wears a Knicks Podcast t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say a former presidential candidate, I'm talking about Jay, who signed up under Mr. Brink Sanity as part of another show.
We have a comedy show, The Brink of Sanity, so you can check that out on iTunes.
We may be releasing a Donald Trump themed podcast also, but we'll see.
Details to follow. And the game we've been talking about forever is coming out this month, so you can register for that. Firefan.com/NYKnicksPod, and you could play against us live during Knicks games. It's a new game coming out, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So register for that, and we can do some trash talking and play.
Yeah, let's do this.
Is that all the... Yeah. Okay, so other Knicks news. I also want to thank Strive, who's been sending us a lot of Knicks-related news. It's been a big help. So there's a rumor that Omri Caspi has requested a trade, and we are one of the 3 teams that's interested. Actually, pretty much the whole Atlantic Division's interested. Celtics,
Okay.
Raptors, and Knicks.
Why does he want to be on the Knicks?
Because he's sick of losing.
Okay, so what can we trade to get him? And do we want him? Is the real first question.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Caspi.
Why do you want him on this team?
He's an actual NBA player. He could put up some points. We need points. He just denied he requested a trade.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard a guy like ask for a trade and then not deny it immediately after?
That's true. Even Dwight Howard denied it, and everyone knew he was requested a trade.
I mean, it's like they'll say it. They could say it on TV and watch themselves say it and be like, "I never did that. That wasn't me." Anyway, so
he's making $2.9 million, so we can trade him and O'Quinn.
yeah, I'm sure the Kings would do that. How does he fit into our team? He's a small forward. He can score a little bit. I guess, and he has some NBA skills. What can we trade to get him? I guess. What do you think would actually get the Kings motivated to talk to us? And you say draft pick, I'm going to end the show.
I mean, it would either be probably Lance Thomas or Kyle O'Quinn.
Sure.
I think Lance Thomas makes a little too much. I think he's around $7 million.
Yeah. He's on a cheap contract, so I feel like he's someone they could be motivated to go for.
I'm saying O'Quinn just because he makes $4 million, so that works salary wise.
But yeah, everyone else in the NBA though they're not morons, so they're not going to make that trade for Kyle O'Quinn. I just don't see anyone being like, "Oh, you're going to offer Kyle O'Quinn." We see the potential there too.
Well, I mean, if they're not playing Caspi, they're not really playing Caspi, so it's it's one of those why not give it a try type of scenarios.
Yeah, no, I mean the Knicks should be like, we'll give you Kyle O'Quinn. Kyle O'Quinn's not enough. We'll throw in the triangle.
The rest of the bench.
You can have all 3 corners of the triangle. Yeah. Look at our bench. You could have anyone you want. Anyone.
So that's interesting. I wouldn't mind taking a chance on that.
Yeah. And when there's decent players that are rumored to be coming to the Knicks, they usually don't come to the Knicks.
So then there's D-League. Chase and Randall, first game back from injury, 25 points.
I like that. I saw that. That is, by the way, Ron Baker had a good game also in the D-League. But sign him up. Get Randall on the team. Can we cut Endor?
I think he has to be gone, right?
I mean, I don't know. I understand how Endor is not like. So for what I've seen from Endor, if the Knicks cut him and in his place signed empty roster spot, I'd be kind of fine with it.
Would that be an upgrade? Maybe.
It's like we cut him. Empty roster spot though. We feel like will contribute more than Endor has, so we're going to leave it Endor empty roster spot. I haven't seen anything from Endor that says like, hey, this guy's an NBA player.
No, definitely not.
You can stick him in the D League. I don't know. It's also, again, the issue with these guys is that guys like Kuz, Hernan Gomez, even Endor are guys you want to give a lot of minutes to, so figure out if they're NBA players or not. But the Knicks don't really want to do that because they also want to win games now. Like ideally, if you're gonna have a team that's really developing, you just play your young guys and see what happens. But the Knicks can't really do that.
Right. Good times. Let's go to emails.
Yes.
We have an email from Ben.
Oh. I didn't have many notes from any of the games, but I did have one note from, I guess this is from the Toronto game, and this is the extent of my note. Knicks fall apart, delay of game, Melo triple team on a hero ball, Rose blocked. I'm done. That was for the fourth quarter last night. Yeah, I'm not even going to explain that. Those are my notes from the game. There's no point in explaining. Go on.
The title of Ben's email is, you can email us, the New York Knicks podcast at gmail.com, is Rambus. Hey guys, I just read a report that Rambus has made the defensive assistant and neither Melo nor Hornacek have said anything about it, which means they are annoyed. Are you guys as sick of Phil and his antics as I am? Why hire Hornacek if all he wants to do is force the triangle? What will happen if the Knicks will be horrible and... What will happen is the Knicks will be horrible and he will get fired, but if he was allowed to coach without the triangle looming over his head, he might have been able to do some good. I mean, come on, Phil, give us a break here.
Here's a couple things I also noticed with it, watching them. Just speaking on the offense, when they do try to do like double, they do like double screens and double screens are a little more complicated stuff. They do get guys open. When guys are cutting and they set picks for each other, guys get really open and the Knicks look better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, floor spacing. I've noticed a lot of plays where all the guys that are on the floor that don't have the ball kind of crowd around the basket. Mm-hmm. And so the defense does, and there's no floor spacing. The Knicks really need to stand on the 3-point line so the defense will stand there as well so you have an open floor.
What a novel concept.
I don't know. It's just they were doing, at times they did that, and I'm like, wow, the spacing looks so much better. But then a lot of plays you'll have Rose, you'll have Rose will dribble the ball, Melo, Porzingis, and Noah will all post up, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? Mm-hmm. Or Noah will be posting up because he doesn't really want to shoot the ball. He wants to pass the ball, but he'll be standing near the basket also. Right. And then even the bench guys were just standing near the basket. And you're like, you have to space the floor better. And in the Toronto game, there was a great play where I don't know, maybe with Melo, I'm not sure who did it, but set a pick on Porzingis' guy, and Porzingis got wide open, and he ended up having an easy basket. I don't know why they can't do more of setting picks. Don't just set picks for the guy with the ball. Set picks for other players. Get guys open. And on defense, I don't know what the hell I have no solution whatsoever. If they said, Jay, we'll listen to you. You can try to fix the defense. What would you even do?
Blow up the team, trade everybody.
We're listening to you about defense, not management of the team.
Yeah, that's how you fix it. They're all bad on defense. You trade everybody.
The thing is, I also think the team can be better on defense. I don't think it's not the individual players, it's the sum of the parts. You can play better chemistry. Obviously, they weren't working on enough pick and roll and enough things on defense. But just have a greater philosophy of stay with your man would be helpful, and call out switches. If you're gonna pick, call shit out. A lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how often how often there's a pick and both guys go to the wrong guy.
I mean, I'm hoping this is just a bunch of guys who have played together before, and this is kind of growing pains, and this will look like a different team in 10 games.
I do think a lot of it's just growing pains, but a lot of times I'm also like lessons. I'd be like, okay, team, here's another lesson. When a player on your opponent, on the team you're playing, is standing outside the 3-point line, he's still actually on the court, and you have to be aware of him. I do think a lot of this is just like it takes a while to get chemistry together, and even like the teams like Wade, Bosh, and LeBron in Miami took a while to get chemistry together, and those guys were top of the NBA type players. It's going to take a little while to really get stuff going.
Yeah, even that team, they were 500, like 20, 30 games into the season.
Yeah, there was some. I don't know if it was 30, but like it was some long into the season where they were 500, and like they had good individual performances on defense, but they were also all the three of those guys were elite defenders, so it really helped also. But it's one of those things you can't rebuild a team every year and hope to have good defense.
Yeah.
But I do think like the team has potential to play. Like they've had times where they've played well on defense. Like the Stars have looked good at times. It's just they never get it. They rarely can get it all together in one game.
Yeah, Jersey game's the only one this season so far.
No, against the wouldn't they look good on defense against the Bulls? At some point, maybe in that game, when the starters came back into the game and they played pretty well on defense.
Yeah, but then they had some offensive issues. So.
And I saw something about Noah, like when Noah's, and this was from a few games ago, but when Noah's on the court, they're like a +8, and when Noah's off the court, they're like a -20. I don't know. It might be a little bit closer than that, but like Noah's defense, it seems like the team does play a little better defense when Noah's on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
anyway,
he's one of their like
questions.
four good defenders.
Yes, exactly.
John just sent us a really funny Ninja Turtle Mellow brand pajamas. So I just posted it on Facebook and Twitter, so you can check that out. NY Knicks Podcast on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
The brand is really working out for him. Nick sent us 2 mid-season trades.
Okay.
1, trade Lance Thomas and Kylo Quinn for Greg Monroe. The rationale is Monroe will be a free agent soon, and Knicks players have low contracts and can fill 2 bench needs and allow the Bucks to mature Thon Maker. The problem with that is Greg Monroe makes $17 million, and Thomas and O'Quinn together, I think, make 11. So I don't know if that'll work.
Wait, is Monroe a free agent after this season?
I think so. If not,
Okay.
a year after.
Well, I wouldn't do it for the year. If this is his last year on the contract, so he was signed. No, he was signed 2 years ago when they signed Lopez because Monroe was the original guy they were going after supposedly. He didn't get a 2-year deal. He must have gotten like a 4-year deal.
It was shorter than we thought it would be. I know that.
Because if you're telling me it's just about cutting salary cap, that makes some sense to me.
It's this year and next year.
Okay, I'm not doing it. Because what's the benefit? Kylo Quinn's off the books pretty soon, and Lance Thomas still doesn't make that much money.
And Greg Monroe is having a pretty terrible year.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks are. I mean, the Bucks rationale, they can get rid of Monroe. Oh, we get players too? That's even better.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is Monroe is not a good defender, and that's our biggest problem right now.
Yeah, well, it's like if you put 2 negative numbers together, they become positive. So hence, you add another negative defender, eventually Knicks will be positive on defense.
2, a swap of Noah and a first-round pick for Justice Winslow and Chris Bosh. He's better than Noah and may retire this year.
Yeah. So this is the logic here is that we get out from the Noah contract, which I said at the time we signed him that who are we going to be trading to get out from this contract? We get Winslow, who looks pretty good, and he's a good defender. I'm totally a fan of that. Bosh, I thought, is not going to play in the NBA again.
Yeah, that may just be an empty contract.
Yeah, so I assume that's just supposed to be an empty contract. Why does Miami do this when they have Whiteside?
Well, they get more depth and a first round draft pick.
Well, I get the first round draft pick, which could be valuable if the Knicks keep playing like this. But you also have, Whiteside's your starting center, right?
Right. So you're paying $20 million a year for a backup center.
That's a lot to pay for a backup center.
I also don't do that if I'm the Knicks because I'm done trading first round picks, especially since it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Well, not Whiteside. Winslow looks like a good player.
Yeah, no, he's a good player. But then if you do that, now you got a hole at center.
No, Chris Bosh is going to play for us.
So, you have a hole at center and you're down a draft pick.
Yeah, no. I see your argument there. It's do you think we could trade Noah and a first round draft pick to get Robin Lopez? Sorry.
I could see them doing that.
No, and I'm not saying Noah's worse than Robin. I think Noah's like on par. His passing is good. At times he looks good on defense. I don't think Robin Lopez was all that great either, even though he was our best defender last year. I still don't know if that's if I don't know who got the better side on that. I don't know who on that basically that move. I don't know who has the better player yet. Like, do you think Lopez is clearly better than Noah? Or Noah is clearly better than Robin Lopez? Forgetting the contract.
Forgetting the contract, I think it's very close.
Yeah.
But when you factor in contract and injury history, I'd much rather Lopez.
But as far as the you're right. As far as the trade, I don't see why Miami would do that. I don't see why the Knicks are going to trade. The Knicks aren't going to trade a draft pick, and the Miami. Are you going to put like Noah next to like Whiteside in like the biggest lineup you can possibly go?
No.
Yeah. But that's a good idea, though. What if the idea was Derrick Rose and a first round draft pick, same guy? You get a Winslow back, and you get I guess you get rid of Bosh. You get Bosh's contract to like cancel it out.
No, I'm saying no to anything where we trade a first round draft pick unless it's like just an out of this world player.
Okay. Is there anyone young players you would do it? What if it was to get what's his name on the Kings?
Cousins?
Yeah, Cousins. Yeah.
No. Nope.
Cousins is a very, very good player.
Great.
What if the trade is 2 first-round picks, the next 2 first-round picks the Knicks have, plus, plus D Rose, and Courtney Lee, and Noah, and you get back the unibrow?
Well, absolutely not. That's the worst.
Unibrow is really, really good.
Yeah, all 50 games he plays per season.
That he has the potential to be one of the best players in the NBA.
For 50 games a season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, how is that team so bad?
Because they literally have nothing else. I told you that when we were doing our predictions. They have nothing.
They really have nothing. Tim Frazier is obviously not that great. I know we like him, but they don't got. He's been putting up monster numbers so far this year.
Yeah, because he's the only guy who can score on the team.
Did he score like 50 one night and they lost the game?
Yeah, and then he scored 48 the next night and they lost again.
How do you? And like he did so, it wasn't like he just was jacking up shots. He did so efficiently, and they still lost.
Yep.
Okay. More questions.
Yeah, we're at the 45-minute mark. George writes, Akeem effing Noah. Hey guys, how goddamn frustrating is it when Noah misses an effing layup? The man is 6'11", a previous NBA All-Star MVP candidate at one point, but can't make a layup. I miss Robin Lopez, 4 years, $72 million. Also, why do so many Knicks fans like Cock? F that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people seem to like Cock a lot. He shoots. For those that don't know, it's Kylo Quinn. He hits some jumpers.
Awesome. Thank you, ESPN. That is just great.
I think because Kylo Quinn has talent. The reason Knicks took a chance on him in the first place, and the reason another team might in the future, is he has a lot of talent. He's just a low IQ player, and that he'll always screw you. like every once in a while he has like really good pass, and you're like, wow. Or he hits a couple of jumpers, you're like, wow. But then he shoots threes, or then he'll like make passes that are just idiotic, or a foul that's idiotic, and you're like, what are you doing? As far as Noah, for those that don't know, when Noah hurt his shoulder this year, they had to take his hands, remove them, and put them in his shoulder, so he has no longer his hands. That's why he shoots. That's why he's so poor when you pass him the ball around the basket. For a guy that can pass so well, why is he such an awkward like shooter? Like, I don't know. He's not that great around the basket. There's some like he should be better about like getting the ball and he could score if he's right near the basket. He doesn't. That's the one thing I say. Robin Lopez, you could get in the ball near the basket, he could score.
Yeah.
I don't think you're throwing an alley-oop up for Noah.
I mean, there's a reason Chicago wasn't, upset to get rid of him.
No, they cried. They said they were so upset. They're like, if you hadn't, like, we were so upset. We were about to sign him, and you did instead. Damn it.
They're also rolling their eyes and giggling, but the Knicks left that part out of the story.
They're like, didn't you know we stopped playing him? But that's cool.
Let's see.
Next question.
We have one more email from Andrew. Do you think the Knicks should bring in Kobe as an advisor? He could help Porzingis have more feed me the ball type of game. Also, Kobe will get a lot of respect for the players on the Knicks, so he can tell them how they have to get Porzingis the ball and tell Melo that he's Shaq to Porzingis. He's Shaq to Porzingis. Kobe and he's Shaq to Porzingis is Kobe, and not to F it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say sure. If the Knicks brought Kobe as assistant coach, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? He would also call them out he'd call them all out as playing defense like they're Charmin.
He'd probably make some of them cry.
Yeah, that he would get in their faces, scream at them, and like just make them work their tail off. Kobe Bryant, like whatever you want to say about him, he had amazing work ethic, and he a very successful NBA career. So I'm down.
Yep.
And I think he's met Phil Jackson before, so I think they have some kind of relationship, so that would work also.
Yeah, I think they met once or twice.
You know what would be great, though? Phil Jackson would then write a book about how he hates his assistant coach. Or Twitter?
Twitter. Yeah, we got a few Twitter messages.
We can go faster.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where it begins, because it's mixed up with like our responses to the games. We're NY Knicks Podcast on Twitter. We usually go on Twitter rants during every game. Let's see. Market Shot says Noah really needs to start making his layups. Agreed. Strive writes, can the Knicks improve their defense? Should the starting lineup change, move Noah out to create more spacing?
I mean, yeah, that'd be helpful. I don't. No, I wouldn't take him. I wouldn't put him off the bench. First of all, Chicago tried that, and he was not a fan of that. And second, I don't think you're gonna. They just need to work on where the players are actually standing. Like don't stand right near the basket. Like Noah should be at the top. Noah could be like if you want to be under the basket, go there and move out. Don't just stay there.
I think if you're making a change to the starting lineup, it's got to be to Rose, not Noah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying. I just think they need more scoring on the second unit, and Rose would be like a perfect guy to be the scorer on the second unit.
It'll never happen though.
No, it'll be like no. God forbid they make like a move that's like they never make drastic moves. It was like with Amari, they could never put him on. They never like ask him to come off the bench until they could.
Right. Strive writes, does Lance Thomas have a chronic injury-prone history? It seems with the Knicks he is always hurt. He didn't before the Knicks, but it seems like he definitely does now.
When you sign a contract with the Knicks, they give you as an added bonus a chronic injury.
He also writes, since Rambis has taken over as defensive coordinator, KP has been picking up fouls early and being forced to the bench. KP's kind of been doing that all season, though.
Yeah. I think anything you want to say, like, there's no... Rambis has done nothing that's made this team worse since he took over as a guy. I mean, maybe he was doing stuff before, like, he was defensive coordinator, but, like, it's too early to say Rambis suddenly has screwing this team. The team is screwing itself.
He writes, why does this Knicks team have a weak fortitude when it comes to referees and fouls and can't rise above it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't.
the team, like, there's going to be games when the refs aren't on your side, and the team seems to fall apart during those.
I feel like the Knicks just draw them on themselves because no one else has these issues. I mean, everyone complains about the refs, but like the Knicks do it so much that I feel like the refs are almost out to get them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I mean, there's so many games where it's like their opponents shoot like 40 shots on the free throw line and Knicks shoot like 12. And like, I mean, Knicks just don't do enough to draw fouls also, but.
Strive answered your question about the last time the Knicks got a call. He said, Hubert Davis foul in a playoff game versus the Bulls. The last time the Knicks got a favorable call from the referees, 1994. There you
go. It's totally it evens out. Knicks got that one, and there've been a few have gone against him since.
Marc and Jay sent us a picture of a 2-year-old playing basketball, and it says, "This is what court domination looks like." Knicks 2037.
Okay,
lock him up. Lock him up. Watch the Knicks use their draft pick this year on him. John writes, last year against the Raptors, Melo steps out of bounds right in front of the refs at the end, but no call. That is true. There was that one Raptors game.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. Yeah, there you go.
Gucci Jean writes, there's been a trade rumor of Anthony Davis for KP and Rose. Like it or nah?
No.
Hate it.
What if, let's just say we're a world of magic where he's not going to get injured. It was KP and who else?
Rose.
I mean, I guess the other guy doesn't even matter. I mean, I guess it's stupid also because, like, why even bother having the hypothetical? The issue is he has injury problems. He'll probably keep having injury problems. And, like...
Even without the hypothetical, like, KP's our guy. We drafted him. There's just something to that, like watching a guy you drafted, like, develop.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's like because we haven't done that since Ewing, but I'm assuming it's really nice.
Yeah. What if Golden State calls and they say, Steph Curry for KP? You do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I said it has to be like a once-in-a-lifetime player, not like an injury-prone guy who's good but is never on the court.
No, if he didn't get injured, though, he's one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it
but
would
he
be
is,
like...
and he always is, so...
Yeah. But anyway, it's not. We're not doing the trade because we don't live in the alternative reality, so...
The 4-year-old writes, when I was born, the Knicks were good and we had a competent president. 4 years later, God damn it. I like the 4-year-old's tweets. Jay should change his name to Tony Brothers so he can eject Mark whenever he's talking too much. Apparently, that's all it takes.
Yeah, there you go.
And he writes, I would offer to come on your show, but my little Tykes microphone doesn't work with Skype. Well, maybe when you get a little older, 4-year-old.
Yeah, we need I mean, we already have enough issues with sound quality. We don't need we don't need a play school microphone.
Switch writes, what antidepressants go best with being a Knicks fan?
What I don't get is, here's what I really don't get. And I don't know how much you follow hockey, but the Rangers are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Dolan owns the Rangers.
Yeah, but he likes basketball, and it seems like he just doesn't like hockey that much, so he stays away.
But like he stays away with hockey. The Rangers are good, but now he's staying away from the Knicks also, and the Knicks still suck. When he was paying attention to the Knicks, they sucked, and we got mad at Dolan. So Dolan's like, I'll step away and give the job to like one of the greatest coaches ever, and we still suck.
I have no explanation for it. Asafo writes, Melo will most likely opt out in 2018. Should we want him back at near max contract? It's his last deal. He will want that.
Well, let's end the podcast if he gets the max contract. Here's a question for you, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
We asked this question. Was it last year? Say the beginning of last year, we might have asked this question. Which team would you rather have their future? The Knicks, the Timberwolves, or the LA Lakers?
The Timberwolves.
Do you want to revise that to the Lakers?
I mean, I know they're doing good right now, but how many guys on that team do you say, like, I want to build a team around?
It's forgetting the fact, like, what the right answer is. The Lakers are pretty good right now. They drafted players, developed them, they're looking pretty good.
It's almost like if you draft players, you can develop them and they get better.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating that like the Lakers are supposed to have just spent all their money on shiny veterans.
And the reason I say Timberwolves, I'm looking at the box score right now, and Wiggins has 47 points.
Holy crap! I actually just pulled that box score up also. Wow, he's 22 free throws.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
How does he get so? Why can't the Knicks get besides Melo? Why can't anyone else on the Knicks team get to the free throw line?
Also, they drafted a guy this year, Timberwolves, Chris Dunn.
Yeah.
How are they not, whenever he scores, playing dun 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 dun? Isn't that just missing a huge opportunity right there?
I think my all-time favorite was just every time Gallinari hit a shot there, like Gallinari, and he's like, "That's offensive, you know that." Gallinari.
Yeah, like we don't care. So
I think he had to ask them to stop doing it. I heard so the Lakers have a pretty good coach. What's his name?
Walton.
Yeah, Walton. And so I heard that was his philosophy there was basically like taking players and playing to their strengths.
What a novel concept.
Yeah, no, just it was an article about how he's really big into doing that and challenging players, like certain guys like Brent, like Ingram, who's he's challenging him in certain ways. And anyway, we were for the Knicks, so who cares?
Two more on Twitter. Is Harambe better than LeBron because he got more presidential votes? Harambe got a lot of votes, way more than me.
Yeah, that's fair. How many votes did he get?
15,000.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's true.
15,000 people voted for a dead monkey?
Yes. It's a great ape.
Would you be amazing if Hillary was like, "Oh, I left Florida because of
Harambe. It swung the entire election.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's it. We could go to Facebook.
John writes, "How ironic and hypocritical is it that the stipulation that PJ had before agreeing to the Knicks president was full autonomy and no interference from the owner, and that's all he's been doing since he's been here as he's on his third head coach." That's a good point, John. But in fairness, a GM and coach should be on the same page, and I don't think a GM should completely interfere with what the coaches do. But there should be some they should be on this. The GM should kind of have some control over what the coach does.
Yeah, but stop hiring coaches that aren't good. I mean, that's on Phil.
Well, I don't even know if Hornacek's not a good coach.
No, Hornacek is good, but Rambis and Fisher were not good. So stop doing that.
In fairness, so far under Phil, the coach that had the best run was Derek Fisher.
Yeah,
they were 22 and 23 and 23. So far that was our golden era.
Great.
Yeah, I just think a coach if a GM says to a coach we really want to see more minutes from certain players, I don't think that's ridiculous of a GM says to a coach.
Right.
What do you think?
No, I don't think it's ridiculous. It's just
and certain philosophy. If you had certain Daryl Morey has a philosophy in Houston, and the coaches have to follow to some extent his philosophy of high percentage shots. I don't think that's ridiculous at all. It's just we just kind of were wondering why Phil is holding on to the triangle.
Right.
John writes, "How does Kurt Rambis sleep at night knowing he's unwanted by the coaching staff, players, fans, and the city? I mean, he's not broke, and he would be coveted by many other collegiate programs because of his experience and ties to the league. But he'd rather work somewhere he's hated and be no more than a mole snitch for the boss. Rambis is better than this. Grow some balls and resign. Shit! Exclamation point.
Do you know how he sleeps at night? On a bed of cash.
Yes. But he could also make a lot of money in college ball. He's right. But I think college, they expect results.
And they don't pay nearly as much.
Coaches in college can do pretty well. I bet he can make the same money in college. John writes, enough. It's time Dolan It's time for Dolan, I guess. Phil's more concerned about the triangle than our record, our coaches, players, and image. We hired him to make a splash and win in free agency. I think he's done enough. Time to thank him for his service and send him on his way. Has the team ever fired a GM or its team president midseason?
I'm not sure. I mean, if there's a first, the Knicks would be the type of franchise to do that.
I'm also 100% positive Phil's job here either ends in 5 years or when he wants it to.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to, like, they could go their separate ways after 5 years, but there's no way he's going to get fired before then.
Dolan's aware that everyone hates him, and to fire Phil halfway through his contract, I think he knows there'll be some backlash on that.
Yeah. Frank writes, would you rather the Knicks win a championship within the next 4 to 8 years or have the White House visit tarnished by President Trump or wait until he's out of office? I don't really know how President Trump's going to really tarnish the image. Like, I'm fine with the Knicks winning the title in the next 4 to 8 years, whether Trump's in office, even if Trump's in office.
Yeah. Pretty much, there's not many scenarios where the Knicks win the championship, and I would not be down with it.
ISIS announces they will start killing citizens for every win the Knicks get in the finals. Frank writes, can President Trump make a guest appearance on the show? Maybe Brink. God damn it. Sorry, I lost my place because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, maybe we'll work on getting Trump around.
Okay, is Trump going to be on the show?
He might at some point. Not tonight, but he might be.
Okay, so okay, here we go. Frank writes, how shitty would it be if President Trump deported all our Euro players? that'd be hilarious. The only reason I'd like that is because the Spurs probably would be hurting the most.
Yeah, it's like our 3 good bench players, so we'll get deported.
John writes, maybe PJ is in the book selling business. All this sabotage makes for great memoir books on how bad the Knicks were despite all he tried to do for us while he was president. SMH. Who do you think will be a worse president? Trump of the U.S. or Phil of the Knicks?
Starting to think maybe Phil.
I don't know. He, in fairness, he's got KP, which you will always latch onto in defending him. They haven't traded away a draft pick. That's number 2. So you found a guy to build around for the long term. You had don't trade draft picks anymore, and there's some young players.
Great.
Starting to develop a core, kind of, maybe.
Yeah. He needs to rebuild like the right way, though.
Yeah. Well,
what are we going to do with Noah for 4 years at $20 million? Come on.
Complain. I mean, Noah looks good at times. I'm sure as he gets older, he'll get better, like wine.
Yeah, that's what you want from a $20 million player. He looks good at times. Plays 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, he always he does like moves that make you happy and some moves that make you like what's going on here. John writes, apparently Willie Cauley-Stein is on the trade block. The fact that it's true, by the way, it makes me feel like a moron for even thinking the Knicks should have taken him instead of Porzingis.
I can't believe you thought that.
Anyway, any interest, question mark? Do you think they'd be interested in a package surrounding Cock? Would you give up a first-round pick for him? I think he'd a good complement piece for the KP and good insurance for Noah. I would not trade a draft pick for him.
Definitely not.
I would be interested in getting him. Are they interested in Cock? Who's not?
Yeah, I mean, if they want Cock or Lance, sure.
Yeah, if it's like Justin Holiday and Cock, I'll do it. Maybe. And Cauley-Stein's a good young piece to build around. So,
I mean, he's supposed to be good on defense.
And we're not, so yeah. I mean, like it would be great if when Noah leaves the game, we'd have a true backup center.
Right.
So I'd be down. If the Knicks can make a trade, don't give up a draft pick and give up just bench pieces. I mean, sure. Would you trade Hernan Gomez for him?
Probably.
Yeah. Frank writes, 4:44 in the second quarter against the Celtics. Melo gets ejected. Trade Melo.
People are pretty down on Melo after that game. We got a lot of messages about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just because, like, we already get on him for complaining too much, and that, like, ends up losing us a game.
Yeah.
Steven writes, 3 wins, 6 losses, with a happy face. Steven writes, how do you feel about DeRozan annihilating the Knicks? He's putting up Michael Jordan numbers to start the season.
Yeah, he's the first person to score 30 in however many games he did since Jordan.
Yeah. So we'll just refer to DeRozan as the new Jordan going forward. Let's call it he's the greatest ever. DeRozan, let's call him the greatest ever. So when he starts sucking, we can keep calling him the greatest ever.
All right.
Steven writes, and by the way, we call him the greatest ever. I don't think that's racist. Steven writes, what did you guys think about Casey putting Powell on Porzingis? Powell is 6'4". Nobody knew whether to pass to Carmelo or exploit the mismatch. Was pretty fun to watch. So you know this is the new thing, by the way. Put guys that are kind of short but fast and quick hands on Porzingis.
Yeah, it seems like the scouts are out on that one.
And it seems to work, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because Porzingis is a lot taller than them.
Mm-hmm.
Porzingis likes to put the ball on the floor, which that negates, basically. And sometimes he has to hold the ball high and play more center-esque, basically. He's got to post up more if you're going to have a guy 6'4" on him.
Mm-hmm.
And they should exploit that move so the teams don't do it anymore.
Right.
And you don't even have to get position. He can stand behind the player and just throw it over the guy's head. Steven writes, I'd like to have 5 seconds and thank the New York Knicks for making our rookies look effing amazing. Baby with 10 rebounds and 5 blocks. Not bad for a Brazilian nobody. Player development is awesome.
Well,
what the hell?
When we ever do that, we'll let you know if we agree.
Yeah. Steven writes, that $72 million contract is starting to look like a bargain. Good thing you guys locked him up for 4 years. Phew. Best signing of the entire season. Knicks win again. Hey!
I don't want to talk about that.
Andrew writes, can we get a beast report? I'm going to say with the Raptors annihilating us, or not beating us like that.
Well, that and the beast still has a hurt paw.
Yeah. But I think Steven wins not getting the beast report on this one. Steven writes, New York is the new Chicago without the potential to go to the finals every year. Thoughts?
All right, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, Steven, you're doing a good job of trolling us. Gilliam writes, remember lose more for Okafor ends up being one lost season for the 76ers.
That is true. They did tank an entire year for a guy who's a 15-minute off the bench player.
Yeah. I mean, the whole trust the process, you have to draft well. If you don't draft well, the whole point of losing makes no sense. Right. I totally get the idea of if you're middle of the road, you keep getting middle of the road draft picks, you're going nowhere, and you need high draft picks. But if they're not good draft picks, then and everyone can see Okafor not being that great of an NBA. Like Okafor is a solid offensive player, but everyone could see he was going to be questionable on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you imagine? What I'm shocked is that basically the Philly didn't take Porzingis and we didn't get Okafor because that seems like who we would have gotten.
Right.
We're almost done, Jay. Gillen writes, I know you would trade O'Quinn, but who would you trade him for realistically?
We would trade him for Omri Caspi.
I was going to package O'Quinn with Endor to get an empty roster spot. I think he'd be a hell of a player on this team. I would bring up Randall. O'Quinn.
Yeah, maybe do O'Quinn and Endor for Caspi and then call up Randall.
Or Endor and O'Quinn for a second-round draft pick and hope that draft pick turns out to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Gillen writes, would you rather have a bench full of rookies and young guys like we have, or have a veteran bench which would help you win now but has no potential to get better and maybe find a future star?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're saying the team we have now, I'd rather a young bench. I mean, if you have a team that's close to a championship, you want veterans, but I think he's just saying the way the team's constructed now, and I'd rather young guys.
Well, the 54-win team, we had a more of a veteran bench, and that really helped.
It did, but if we had a veteran bench right now, actually it would help.
Yeah, obviously it would help. If you want to actually just win games, a veteran bench would be very helpful. All right, we get killed when our bench comes in.
Yeah.
And we're having a lot of issues with it, and I understand. It's just weird to do both, rebuild and try to win now.
Yeah, I know. There's an argument for both sides. I could see, if we had a good bench, but if we have a good bench, we're still not a championship team, and then you're not developing anybody.
Well, let me take the counter arguments to everything. So Phil, to defend Phil here. I mean, obviously KP, whatever. The bench, like he's found some pieces that are very interesting pieces, and the guys that you'd be very happy. Like if you said with the Knicks drafted Hernan Gomez with a 17th pick overall, I mean, I guess they drafted him with a second round pick. You have to be happy with that draft pick, right?
Yeah.
If you told me they drafted Kuz with like a second round draft pick, you'd be probably pretty happy with that draft pick also.
Yeah.
You'd wonder why he's 27, but like you'd be happy with the draft pick.
Yeah.
Like they have a bunch of guys like Justin Holiday looks like he could be decent, and the Knicks could have said like, hey, we needed a point guard, so we brought in Jennings and Rose. We see who stays healthy, who looks good this year, and whoever's good, we resign, and we have a solid point guard who's 27 years old.
You know, I would say I changed my mind. A veteran bench, because I don't think there's anybody on the Knicks bench that is like a going to be a difference maker, or like a guy where you're going to say like, oh, I want to build around this guy later on.
I agree with that. I mean, I think solid. Most of the guys on the bench, like you're hoping like Hernan Gomez ends up being a solid like backup center.
Right. Like we like some of the, like we like Kuz, we like Hernan Gomez, but none of these guys are going to be like, oh, you know, let's make sure we don't lose this guy.
Yeah. But it's hard to. I mean, you could just argue like the Noah thing is the only thing that really makes no sense, because I can see it's thinking of like saying, hey, Derrick Rose is still young. Let's take a shot at him. If it doesn't work out, we'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
The Noah thing is just the one that doesn't make that much sense at all.
Right.
But then again, if you said like, hey, I had to get a Rose, I wanted to get you Rose, and that it cost me Robin Lopez, and we needed a center, and I thought we had signed Noah to a 1-year deal, and didn't realize that was a 4. That's the only.
Maybe
part
it
that
was
doesn't
1, and he like changed it to a 4.
I mean, I guess the idea being Noah's a really like. Whatever. Let's move on. Gillen writes. No, we're done with his question. We're almost done here. This is about the last question. Gillen writes, around 6:30 in the fourth quarter against the Nets, Jennings made a triangle with his hands. Does that mean we're not running the triangle? Maybe Hornacek has decided to implement it. It's slower, like Jackson did with the Bulls. They were definitely in that Nets game when the Knicks started coming back. They stopped running the triangle. It was definitely more like pick and roll and more of a normal offense. I don't know what the hell Jennings does. Also, like he just like I've never seen a guy that talks so much shit for a guy that's not doing that much.
Right. Yeah, his ego is not in line with his talent level.
I don't. Yeah, I like for his ego, like he should be a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the hour point, or how long are we in?
We passed the hour point a while ago.
How far are we in? We're ready to end the show. I'm just wondering where we are.
An hour and 17 minutes.
Okay, so we got there close. We're trying to cut the show down to an hour. Much like the Knicks, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. What did you learn today, Jay?
I learned that the Knicks can put together a solid game like once a week. Unfortunately, they play 3 times a week, but they can put together a solid game once a week.
Yeah, the Knicks. Just to like some numbers for the Knicks, they've won 33% of their games, and in their losses, in 33% of their losses, they didn't get blown out.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. I'm trying to be more positive in this episode than
I noticed.
I'm really trying. I don't want to be too negative, and it's early, and a lot can change. And like the Miami Heat, and just to compare the teams because they're very comparable, they were like 500, and they took off a little bit after like 20 games. So the Knicks, maybe they'll be like a little under 500 after. Maybe they'll be like 8-12 to start the year, or 7-13. Then they'll take off from there.
We didn't read the last 2 iTunes reviews?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. You have them in front of you?
Yeah. We got 2 new ones. Thank you very much. One of them is by Logan Stolt. He wrote, "New listener and loving it. I'm a new fan following Rose and Noah, and I love how honest this podcast is about all the players. Love all the segments as well. Keep it up."
Awesome.
Thank you very much. And 40 Lights writes, "Great podcast. I love the podcast. Really funny and informative. Keep it up."
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And please keep them coming. Like I said, it helps us in the rankings, gives us more exposure, helps more people find the show. And the more downloads we get, the more motivated we are to do more shows.
Yeah, I would say that's a very good way of looking at it. If you want more shows from us, maybe we'll do twice a week even if we get enough reviews. Yeah. Anything else you learned today, Jay? You know what I learned today?
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes our resident Toronto Raptors fan control us and pretty successfully because his team beat our team last night.
Yeah.
Hey, they're playing well. DeRozan's looking really good, and Nick should have goddamn won that game.
So thank you for listening, everybody. And we will be back soon, probably Sunday. Depends. If we, like we said, if we get overwhelmed with downloads, maybe we'll do one sooner.
Do you think it would be awesome if maybe the Knicks should they send they send a Baker down and he has a good game in the D League.
Yeah.
The Knicks should just send themselves down to the D League for a game to get some confidence back. The Knicks beat they won big last night. They won 125 to 74 against the Oklahoma Stampede. Oh, I didn't know there was an Oklahoma Stampede in the NBA. There's not.
I mean, that would be a good thing for if they have 3 days off, take that middle day and just stomp a D League team.
And the Knicks are there's no D League team around here. Who's playing today? There's the Iowa Thunderbolts. Oh, what's that? It's a wheelchair basketball team. We're on that.
Jay's rec league team is playing at the local high school gym.
Knicks just show up and you're like, God damn it.
All right. So, yeah, thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. Between this show and the next show, buy a Knicks podcast shirt. The New York Knicks podcast.com.
You don't want to be the only one of your friends that doesn't have one.
Exactly. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, 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 everybody.
I've switched a lot of things in my life, but it's never worked out. I switched to being a vegetarian, but ate more bacon than ever. Every time I switch lines at the grocery store, I never pick the fast one. But one thing that totally worked out is I switched to Metro PCS and got a free Samsung Galaxy.
Make the right switch too. Move to Metro PCS and get a free Samsung Galaxy J7 with a huge 5.5-inch screen. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Plus sales tax. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details, terms, and conditions.